My name is Edith, and I chose to do my speech and my essay on Les Demoiselles d'Avion, the painting by Picasso, Pablo Picasso. And I'm going to show how he was influenced by the Dan tribe of Africa and how this painting actually came to be. It started in June of 1907. He and a group of friends went to a museum in Paris, France, and they were viewing the West African mask. This was the first time Picasso had seen the mask, and he was mesmerized. Uh, there's people that were there that says that he said things like the masks were magical things and they were menacing spirits. And 1 year after that museum visit, he painted this painting, Les Demoiselles d'Avion. During that year, however, some of his friends were actually buying these masks on the black market because they weren't for sale, and he was borrowing them and studying them and trying to become, maybe gain their spirits or figure out what the spirit thing was all about. At any rate, 1 year later, he painted this painting. And this painting is significant because it did two things. It incorporated the essence of an African mask and two of the ladies on the right, and it introduced to the Western world abstract art. Before that, art was basically realistic, portrait type. A landscape was a landscape. There was nothing exaggerated. It was exact. The same thing with the portrait. But from 1907 to 1909, most of Picasso's sculptures and paintings had a very, very heavy influence of African art and African masking and sculptures. Even this painting. When I first picked this, I actually thought that I was going to focus on the lady on the right, with the mask. I mean, it's right there in your face, obvious. But as I viewed the painting and took into consideration all that we learned in this class, I started seeing different masks, and I'm like, oh my goodness. If you notice in the painting, the women are naked. And what you might not know is that this painting is a painting of ancient Iberian prostitutes. But because they're naked, you don't know that. You just know they're women. They could be women from 1990, they could be women from 2010. They can be anything. I saw that as a different type of masking, a removing to be something else, to be anything that you want it to be. And also, the ladies are constructed with geometric angles. I started counting. They're made up of over like 30 or 40 triangles. I mean, there's some other like squares and things, but for the most part, if you really look at this picture, it's made up of triangles. The background is the same thing. It's a geometric conglomeration. It's a bunch of geometric forms, and just like the African art, the color is muted. There's yellow tones, there's brown tones, there's blue, very little white. Just white for probably contrast. And here is an insert of that mask lady, the one up in the right of the picture. I found this on the internet, and I didn't match this up. It was already matched up. But it shows, I mean, look at that. The nose, there's a triangle, a rectangle type nose coming, same as the sculpture, and there's really no mouth, a little pouted, like squared mouth, same as the sculpture. And he's used uh, what the Africans used is scarring on the sides, to show some depth. And look at the eyes. The eyes are oval in his picture. The eyes are oval in the sculpture also. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that Picasso never really acknowledged that he was influenced by African art. It could have been, and it's said that it was because of the racial tension at the time. But if you look at these pictures of his self-portrait, look at this. I'll put it up for just a second. If you look at this, in 1906, this was right before the visit to the art museum. It's more realistic, and then here's a year after the art museum. It's kind of more angular. You can see the ovalness of the Dan tribe mask and just the kind of abstraction. But now, when you get to 1992, here you see that he is, I mean, that's a death mask. And I went on the internet and found this death mask. And this is so close to him. I'm like, oh my goodness. How can the guy deny that he had an African influence? Well, I think he did. Art critics think he did. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.